Are you ready for next level growth in your business? Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, where we pull back the curtain on the exact strategies, tools, and mindsets that build million-dollar empires. If you're hungry for more time, more freedom, and a whole lot more impact, you've come to the right place. Buckle up, because we're about to ignite your business journey. Now, here's Lindsay.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I am your host, Lindsay Anderson, and I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Miss Monica Madrid. She is the founder of Football is Sexy. She has built her brand by combining her love for football and her mission to empower women through fun, stylish apparel, and educational content. Having worked with music legends like Prince and Rick James, Monica transitioned her focus to help others by creating an engaging platform that connects with passionate female football fans. It worked to her about building an impactful brand. Put your hands together and welcome to the show, Miss Monica Madrid. Welcome to the show, Monica. Girl, thank you. What an introduction. Was that me? Oh, okay. It's all true. Tell me. I want to dive into this. We talked about it in the green room. Tell me about your experience on Soul Train. Tell us just briefly about that. Oh, yes. So back in the day, if you're not, if you're under 25, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But for my older peeps, Soul Train was the thing. All things stopped Saturday mornings because everybody watched Soul Train. Don Cornelius had the best artist on his platform. And what was the other exciting thing were the dancers going down the Soul Train line. I mean, you can't have a party if you're not having a Soul Train line. And I found myself on Soul Train, and I was like, well, if I want to be on Soul Train, I am not going to be on the dance floor. I need to be on stage. So I found my way, and the center stage was usually where I was. And I was on it for about 4 or 5 years, actually, in the early 90s. So I had a front row seat to a lot of the music business, which kicked into a lot of my story. So tell me how you went from dancing on Soul Train and having this really amazing experience with Prince and Rick James to now you have a very successful brand called Football is Sexy. How'd you get here? Girl, that is a great question. It was a lot of work and a lot of just, I guess the universe just leading me to where I was supposed to be. The two constants in my life were always sports and music. And music was really the beginning of my life. And I remember after high school, all of my friends were talking about going to colleges and universities and wanting to be teachers and doctors and nurses. And none of that appealed to me, like none of it. And I was like, that's not my calling. And it was music or sports. And sadly, I remember at that time going, I really can't make any money in sports as a woman. And I was a pretty decent basketball player, short, but pretty decent. And I really loved playing basketball, but the WNBA wasn't around yet. And I remember going, there's no way for me to make money at sports. So let me go into music. So I went into music and started to network and go to all the clubs in LA. And that's how I ended up on Soul Train. And then being on Soul Train, I was like, this is a great place for me to network. And I was a songwriter. I turned my poems into songs, and I ended up writing for a couple of girl groups that were actually on Soul Train. And then those girls never showed up. So why don't I get behind the microphone and I'll demo these songs, and I'll demo them and we'll cut down studio time. Well, by the time I was done demoing, I'm like, well, why don't I just do these songs? They're mine anyway. So then, I just kind of ended up with this artist dream. And through all of that, I've always been a Prince fan. And I told everybody in 7th grade, I'm like, I'm going to meet Prince one day. And not only will I meet Prince one day, he will send for me. And they're like, yeah, okay. A lot of people didn't even know who Prince was. But, after high school, I did get that call, and I ended up in Minneapolis and got to spend time with my idol, which was a dream come true. And having him read my lyrics at the time, it was just crazy. And then all that ended up becoming an artist, writing my own music, and ended up at Interscope Records with Mark Benish, who believed in me. There was many, many meetings about me. I mean, I could go on. At the end of the day, Tupac Shakur got my record deal. Let's just say that. And all of this is in my memoir, but I mean, I've been through it. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I mean, it does sound like you have a lot of experience. I love how you mentioned the networking. We're going to probably dive into that as now you run Football is Sexy. Tell us just a little bit about that brand. So after the music, my memoir is called When Broken Dreams Can Lead to Spiritual Freedom. So the dreams that I had as a child, as a teenager, as a young person didn't work out the way I thought it would. And I found myself in a real bad place. And I thought my world was ending. I had to climb out of that depression of not getting a record deal and ended up in the mortgage business. And I was in the mortgage business for a very, very long time, one of the top sales people. So I learned, and I say all this to say, because all of these things help me with Football is Sexy now. And how Football is Sexy ended up happening was really organically. My dad, I was blessed with two fathers, but my biological father was a diehard Niner fan. And when he passed away in 2014, I was devastated. And I realized going through all his things that like my favorite memories, my favorite pictures were of us with football and the Niners, of course. And then it dawned on me like, wow, like what if a person never had a dad like mine or a mom or grandparents or brother or sister to teach them the game? How would you even start to learn such a complicated game? And the game gave so much to me, the culture. Like I live for football. I live for the football season. I go into deep depression like most fans do when it's over. After the Super Bowl, we're like, oh my God, now what for 6 months? And so I had a calling to start teaching football. And so I decided, after my dad died, I couldn't go to any games for a while. And then I decided it was time. And right when I decided it was time to get back to the games, I decided to see if anybody wanted to learn. And I went to a pizza place and said, hey, I'm going to teach football. And they said, you can do it here. And I put on Facebook at the time, hey, if anybody wants to learn football, I'm going to teach it for fun, for free, drinks, pizza, like, let's go. And like 40 women showed up. And I was like, well, what am I going to name this boot camp? And I just came to me like that. Football is Sexy. And that's how it was born. And now we have the first app to ever teach football for free in an app. We have apparel. We have a podcast. And I'm getting ready to do some live events that I'm really excited about. And it's just been, so I went from music to mortgage business to football. And here I am now. And it feels like in the mortgage business and music and in football, it feels like your strengths of knowing what a brand is and being able to build a personal brand or like a personal-ish brand around that. Can you kind of expound on that? Would you say that's one of your expertise? How do you do it? It's a great question. I think it really, I looked up a lot of stuff, because I never went to school for this stuff. That's the one thing. And I want to really bring that home to some people out there who might not have that 4-year degree or what have you. Like, I didn't have any of that. But what I had was grit, determination, and a vision. And if you have those things, everything now, especially, is like literally a click away. So I would listen to people that had businesses, and I really just really opened my eyes and my ears and listened and took everything in. And I think the most important thing was that somebody said, well, what's your tagline? What's your mission? And that's really when it started for me. And when I really figured it out, and it's interesting because it was talk and teach, women that talk and teach. I'm sorry, it was teach and talk when I started. And by the time I was into the 6 months, I changed it because I realized that women, avid fans that are already out there, didn't really have a space to feel seen and heard in the world of football. So I also had a real good eye on and pulse on who my audience was. And so now the tag is where women talk and teach football, and we do both. So you can come to our page on Instagram or all the other social medias, and you're going to see women, well, we champion women who talk that talk and walk that walk, who love football, and they love football like me ever since they can remember. But we also are going to teach along the way so that we welcome newbies as well. And by the way, we are not exclusive to women. And that was very important to me in the branding. We have thousands of men followers who love us, who support us, because what's sexier than women talking sports? I don't know.
Nothing, nothing. Yeah.
Right? And even for the people that are still learning, I have guys DM me and go, I'm so glad you're here because on the DL, I don't know football.
That's so funny.
Well, and they'd rather learn it from women, So to answer your question, I think is really zoning in on your mission and your tagline and then building around that.
How would you describe the Football is Sexy brand?
Where women talk and teach football, where our mission is to unite women football fans from all across the globe, eventually the globe, right now, starting with the United States. These women, even what I've done in a short amount of time is watching these women who meet at our live events or meet through social media are now, not only are they friends, they're actually going to games together. So what people don't realize is that like a football women fan, I go to the games by myself because real football fans, they want to watch the game. And what I found for women in particular, a lot of they're like might be the only one in their circle. And so there's not another woman that they know that is going to spend $400 for a ticket, who's going to fly to Philadelphia, who's going to fly to San Francisco. So I'm doing the best I can by connecting these women and watching these friendships develop. And ultimately, that's really what it's about. And it's what it's about with my dad is just the connection, the memories, and the culture is really what I'm trying to bring together.
That makes sense. Now, you've mentioned several times as we've been talking about networking and the people that you know. And I know that you've been featured on Kelly Clarkson and you've really been able to utilize people that you know and this networking to build your brand. What's your secret there? How do you approach these key relationships?
That's a great question as well. And I will tell you, and I didn't know this until now, but post like everyone's watching because they actually are. And I did not know that. I was just doing what I thought should be done. I was doing what I thought looked good. I was trying things out. I did not know a thing about social media, by the way, like nothing. Like I've learned all of these things just by pure determination and hustle. Like I am not a techie person. I had to learn how to run social media. I had to learn how to do apparel. I had to learn podcasting and lighting, and I didn't even know what a hashtag was. Like when I say I knew nothing, and now I know a little bit of something. And I only say that because these people found me. Kelly Clarkson's team found me. And I was shocked. I thought it was a joke, actually. I got an email and it was like, I would love to have you featured. And this is Kelly Clarkson, producer. I was like, really? And next thing I know, I was in New York. And it dawned on me then, like, Monica, people are watching and you never know who it's going to be. And so they found me and I'm so blessed. And Kelly, their team has been amazing, and they helped me make my dream come true, which was to go to a Super Bowl. And so I was able to do that and watch my boys lose, but it was still amazing other than the score.
So you're on the Kelly Clarkson Show. They reach out to you because of the work you did on social media. And how did you leverage that, like on social media? How often do you bring that up? How do you use that opportunity with Kelly Clarkson past the time that it was actually there? Do you continue to use that as part of the brand?
I do. It's pinned, but I don't rely on it. And I think it's really important that yesterday is yesterday and today is today. Like I always felt like, okay, that was back then, but I have to move forward. Like, what am I going to do today? Like, I can't hold on to that. And so even though Kelly was amazing, like I have to continue to grow. And so I found myself back on Good Day LA. Good Day LA wanted me on that week as well. And we talked about this and I'm like, okay, I got to double check with the Kelly Clarkson team because it was kind of close together. Long story short, I couldn't do it, but I didn't know why.
And the Kelly Clarkson team said, you can't do that. We just rather you not, or something like that. And then I figured out why is because I wasn't going to be in LA to do it. I was going to be in Vegas watching the Super Bowl in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was crazy. And it was so great because I was just back on there and they asked me about that. Okay, now we finally have you. This was just like 3 weeks ago. They're like, now we finally have you. Tell us why you couldn't do our show Super Bowl week. And I explained to them why. But all that to say, I think the leveraging is posting, but not relying that's it, that's the end of the road. It's like, okay, what's next? Who else can help me tell my story? Like you, other people on the podcast, and just keep going and keep moving and stay on path and know that those things are amazing. But like that helped me get to the NFL draft, which was, 3 months later. The NFL gave me a social media pass, so I was able to do that. So it's all these little wins that help you get to the next place.
I love that. Well, always keeping future ahead. The past is the past. Like, what is the next opportunity? What's the next big thing that I can be doing, and always having your eye ahead. I love that.
Right.
So you have a pretty great community out there on social media. You're on Instagram primarily. Is that right?
Correct. We're building out the other platforms, but again, I didn't know how to do anything. So I'm like, let me learn one. I got to learn at least one. And now,
But you have a pretty highly engaged community out there.
Yeah.
What's your strategy going into that on Instagram?
Oh man. Well, one, I had to just learn how to operate. And once I figured that out, then it was all about content, which I wish, even right now, I wish I could do so much more. But what's awesome is I built a platform where we can collab with other women, with other people that talk football, that have a different view. So I didn't want it to be just Monica's page. I didn't want it to be just the Niner page. I wanted to really encompass all teams, all people. And that's what it says on the profiles, all teams, all people. And we collab with other women that talk about their Eagles or talk about their Raiders and have different perspectives. One of the best things I think I did was learning how to collab with other like-minded creators. It really has helped me focus on other things because now it's not just me who's having to constantly put up 5 posts a day, 3 posts a day.
Plus, when you're collaborating, you're given a wider audience and you can get access to their audience. So what's your strategy with collaborators? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, a lot of it happened organically, but there definitely was times when I would just scroll looking for certain women. Like I'd put in, women Eagle fan, women Raider fan, and there's not a lot of us out there. And that's the other thing that I'm working on is making women feel like they can do it. It's okay to turn on the camera and put your hair in a ponytail and talk football, helping women build their own brands. You have to look for some of the things you want and then message them. And I keep it real short and sweet. I love your content. I think you'd fit right in at Football is Sexy. I'd love to collab. Sometimes it's a phone call and sometimes it's just like, yes. And then
So
you
just
build
like
that
just
relationship.
asking, basically.
Yeah.
Just ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of your own way and ask.
And I'm a big believer in everything in my life. If you don't ask, you don't get. You have to ask.
I love that.
Some people don't respond. Okay, next. You know what I mean? And now I've got like 4 or 5 great collaborators that are consistent. They're easy. Like we kind of know each other. One from Kansas City, one from Pittsburgh, one from the Eagles. And we're hoping to build on that. And it's been great. It really, and that, like you said, and it helps them. More people will be introduced to them and vice versa. And it's really important. And that was probably one of the best advice that I received was collab with other people. And you have to ask.
So I know you've built the Football is Sexy brand. What would you say your biggest obstacle has been in building that brand?
Oh my God. I've never been asked that. That's a great question. You're on fire. And I'll be really honest about this. I'm all about honest. And I think one of the toughest things is that you have some people that don't want to collab, right? You have people don't know you. So it's, I don't know, like I'm coming into like a new space, I feel. And some people just don't really support it. And you have to kind of just like understand that whether somebody collabs with you or not, whether somebody messages, wants to help you or not, like you just have to keep going. The hardest part is really kind of like you're the new kid on the block. So there's some of these creators who've been out there for a long time and maybe they have more followers, but they haven't been on Kelly Clarkson.
Right.
There's just I think it's just hard breaking into anything being the new kid on the block. And that's kind of how I feel, if that makes sense.
That does make
But
sense.
then there's some collaborators, men or women, that are like, dude, I love what you're doing. Let's collab and support you. And they will forward your stories and, tell people about you. And then there's just some people who aren't going to do it. And you just have to be okay with that and keep moving and really appreciate the people who have supported you and who do support you, if that makes sense.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Is there something, give us a little bit of insight here, Monica. You're very successful. You've done so many things in your life. What's something you do daily to like make sure that you're showing up in the best way possible for your brand and doing these right things and having the hard conversations that we just kind of like talked about? Do you have one thing you do every day to kind of like support yourself in that, showing up as a winner every day?
Absolutely. The first thing is that I take what I do seriously, right? And I have humor. You have to have humor and you have to have a backbone to be an entrepreneur. We already know that. But what I mean by take seriously, that means I have sacrifices and my friends and family understand my sacrifice. And my sacrifice is I go to bed early. I'm always still working from my bed, but I'm like shutting down. And I say that to say, I'm not going out at night anymore. Those days are over for me. I look forward to the morning. And I tell everybody this. And when people ask me something similar to what you just said, I was like, the mornings are key to my success. And getting up early is the first part of that. I get up 4:30, no later than 5:30 every single morning. I try to sleep in on Sundays. That to me is huge because I need that time to have alone time. Well, I'm alone, so that's fine. But I need that time to really, I'm already posting before 6:00 in the morning. I'm already in the shower. I'm already at the gym. I'm already done more things than most people do by 7:00.
Yep.
And it's always something because I've got 5 things under one umbrella and it's pretty much just me and a couple of people that help me on a day-to-day basis. And we're talking about apparel. We're talking about podcasts. We're talking about social media, which social media could be 24/7. And if I had a team, which I'm working on, it will be 24/7 one day. I think the main thing is that morning, getting my coffee, getting that meditation. For me, it's in the shower and just going, okay, what can I do today to improve everything I'm building right now? And then I just start executing all day. I'm a big believer. I'm all about a Post-it and crossing it off. Everyone's like, no, do this. There's an app. I don't want an app. I don't want an app for what I need to do and what I need to cross off. I want my Post-it and I need to cross it off. That's what I'm for.
I love that. Living for crossing off the Post-it. All right. Before I let you go, Monica, tell me one thing. Here you are. You've lived all of this. What is one thing you wish you would have known before you got started?
Oh, 2 things. One is probably the most important. And I'll just say it like this. If you are a visionary, if you are the entrepreneur and you have somebody that you want to go into business with, I highly, highly recommend that you never do 50-50. It's
Sounds like
very
a good lesson for you.
huge, huge lesson. And I'll just say this. Had I done that, there would be no Football is Sexy. I've heard from a lot of other entrepreneurs the same. Brothers go into business. Let's do it 50-50. The problem is, as soon as there's something that you guys don't agree on and you're at a stalemate, that business is done. Somebody has to have that extra percentage to make the final decision so that your company can keep moving. I would never, ever do 50-50. And thank God I never did, But I'm shouting that out to everybody, especially if you're the visionary, never do it 50-50. That is just my personal opinion. The other
Okay.
thing, this one's funny. I have no idea how in the world I ended up with so many gray shirts in my life. I'm like, how did I end up with gray? This is not the top seller, people. Somehow I ended up with a ton of gray and I'm still getting rid of it. Believe it or not, really realizing the sacrifice it will take, because the things you think you're going to do times that times 1,000, because there's so many things that you do not know that you're going to have to figure out along the way. And make sure you have a nice savings account, because that is why most businesses cannot get loans, because most businesses don't make money 2 to 3 years in. So save, be ready for the financial part of that so that you're not stressed. Always be in control of your own business, and don't order gray shirts, only a few. Thanks, Monica. Before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Let us know how to find you and anything else you want the audience to know. Awesome. Yes. Make sure you download our free Football is Sexy app. It's on both platforms. Follow us on Instagram, on all social medias. Check out the podcast, Football is Sexy. And I'm saying there's some really cute apparel. I'm just saying. So go check it out. And Lindsay, you are amazing. I'm so glad we've connected. This is going to be fun. I feel like we're going to be friends, you and I.
Already happened, Monica. Already
Yes.
happened. Thank you. Thanks for being on the show today. There you have it, folks. An awesome interview there with Miss Monica Madrid. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Millionaire Maker Show. Now, if you're looking on how to get more sales with social media, all you need to do is head over to sellmorewithsocial.com, download that PDF, and I will show you my simple 4-step system where you can sell more with social. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Millionaire Maker Show. Cheers to you and your success.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Millionaire Maker Show. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share how you're leveling up your business. Want more? Connect with Lindsay Anderson and get the tools you need to crush your goals at lindsaya.com. Until next time, keep pushing, keep growing, and turn those business dreams into reality.